Hello everyone. So I haven't done this for a long time, but I'll try to play some rapid games again today. Today I thought I might do it on chess.com. I was using chess24 usually, but yeah, let's try a different thing. Okay, so I'll try to see if I can get a 15 plus 10 game. Very standard rapid time control. My rating is still quite low, so I will probably have some very easy games, but I'll try to make them as interesting as possible. Let's maybe start with d4 for the first game. And okay, we have a game. Knight c6. What should we do here? Maybe knight f3. Very normal move. Knight f6. Now I can play c4. He might go d5 and we get a Chigorin. What else can I do? Knight c3, just d5. Maybe bishop f4 is a smart move. So now if he goes d5, I might go e3 and c4, and I avoid the main lines of the Chigorin, and otherwise his knight might be a bit misplaced on c6. It usually happens on the d4 openings. You don't usually want to put your knight on c6 before moving the pawn. So the plan was to go e3 here. Now this is not very ambitious. I can probably go bishop f5 at some point. But if he hasn't gone bishop f5, then I'll just go c4. And now he will have a hard time playing bishop c5. Bishop f5, I mean. Bishop g4. Okay. So what options do we have? We can take on d5, knight takes. I probably don't want to give this bishop, so bishop g3. And then e5 might be possible. That's a bit annoying. Maybe I can play just very solid with knight bd2. Of course, whenever the bishop moves, you should also always consider queen b3. Not sure what that does. Knight a5, queen a4, c6. So queen b3, knight a5, queen a4 check, c6. And then I don't know what to do. Probably I'll have to take on d5. Yeah, I wanted to play something more ambitious, but maybe I'll just move maybe just knight c3. So he's going to play, whatever I do, he's going to play 6. And then probably try to put the bishop on d6. Okay, let's play knight c3, just try to put some pressure on d5. I've After e6, I'm thinking maybe I can play pawn takes. Pawn takes probably. If knight takes, I can play knight takes d5 and bishop b5, and that's a bit annoying. Maybe I can even start with h3, because then if he goes bishop h5, I have g4 and knight e5. With h3, he'll probably just take on f3. Okay, let's try h3. Can I remove? Apparently not. Okay, now bishop h5 makes me a bit more happy. I'll take on d5 as planned, and if pawn takes, I'll go bishop b5. Okay, knight takes, I think knight takes makes a lot of sense. Also possible is just bishop h2. Maybe that's even better. Yeah, because then I get a really good center, and e5 is no longer an option, I think. I'm attacking it way too many times. I might go bishop b4. Yeah. Rook c1, queen b3. Almost that makes sense. Queen b3, I'm slightly worried about knight e5. Queen a4 check. c6. Then maybe rook c1. Let's just go rook c1. Safer. Yeah, it's a bit annoying that I can't pre-move. Let's see if I can find how to do that. No, not this. Born pieces like chess. Enable pre-moves, yes. Okay. Maybe this hasn't been updated yet. I hope on the next game I can pre-move. So now I think it makes sense to play 4. Just gain some space in the center. Also, bishop d3 is interesting because then I might want to play g4 and take on g6 and give him a bit of a weak pawn structure. Yeah, I like that. I can still play e4. Well, e4 might be a bit complicated because of the pressure, like you can take on f3 and take on d4. So I might want to delay e4 for a bit. Okay, bishop a5, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think I'll play g4. It's a bit of a weakening move, but I think it's worth it. He will get a Very weak pawn structure. Now, should I castle? Now he has a weak structure, but I still have to take advantage of that somehow. Castling, I'm slightly worried about h5, but I shouldn't be because even if he takes on g4, it's nothing. I have the queen protecting g4 if needed. I can move the knight to protect it, and he has no easy way to attack it. So castling looks good. Now if he lets me, I might just play knight e4 and try to put the knight on c5. That looks good. Also e4 is an idea. No, I shouldn't blunder my knight. Knight e5, knight e5, he can take, bishop takes. And I think it looks good for white. I'm also considering knight d2, trying to take advantage of the queen by going knight e4 with tempo. Hmm. It's a bit annoying when you have good options. Like they're both good, but I don't know which one is best. So if I don't play knight e5, what will he do with the knight? Maybe play the knight to e7 at some point. And then maybe play g5 and knight g6 if he gets the chance. Also king g2 is possible. And then knight e4. It's also possible. Let's say king g2, knight e7, knight e4, queen f7. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I decided on king g2 because I noticed that once he moves the knight from c6, which he usually wants to do, then I will get a really nice outpost on e5. e5. Can I just take it? Or I can even take a knight with tempo, attacking the queen. I don't see anything. That's a piece. One of the good things on chess.com, I think that right in these first games you play, you change your rating a lot. So I'm gonna win a lot of rating now, and then so I won't have to climb the rating ladder slowly. Okay, what should I do with this knight? e4, followed by taking on e5 looks good. Simple knight c3 also looks good. Let's go e4. The knight is well placed on d5, I think, so there's no reason to move it. Yeah, there's not really much more to say about this game now. We're just completely winning. a5 is hanging. He has no counterplay whatsoever. I'm just trying to think what he might do, but there's really no reasonable plan. Like maybe getting the rook a d8, rook a e8. Yeah, getting the queen off the pin. What should we take with? Probably knight and then bishop. Bishop, taking with the bishop and then the knight also makes sense to try to target g6. But in this way, I'll probably win c7 as well. Yeah, I don't win c7 because it can move it. Now we can go to f4, c3. I like f4. I can then go to d3 and then c5, and it attacks g6. Don't think I'm blundering anything. I'm always a bit worried when putting my knight on, putting my pieces where they are attacked. Like these pieces are a bit loose, e5, f4, but I don't think I'm blundering anything. Now I can play king h7, for example, to defend g6. Bishop b6, I think I'll take on g6. Then maybe I can bring the knight to f5. Now that the pawn no longer defends it, he should move the rook, maybe rook e8, and now knight h4, knight f5. Once again, I'm putting the knight in an unprotected square, but I don't see how we can take advantage of that. Then when he gets to f5, it will be really annoying for black. Not that it makes any difference. Once again, we are winning for a long time now. Knight f5 defends d4, so let's just play it. If g6, I think we can take on h6, king h7, and then I have to play g5. Which I didn't really want to, but that's okay. So if g6, knight h6, king h7, g5, he can take on d4 then. Then we trade a lot of pieces and we go into a easily winning endgame. Which is not what I want, but it needs to be like that, it's okay. I think we're going with this line. It's gonna take on d4. don't think we have any smart move here, so I'm just gonna take, play f3, and try just to win this game as quickly as possible so that we can move on to a new one, because this is really not that interesting. Maybe you can reroute the knight now. It's not doing much on h6. Well, now we can take, and yeah, this was a bit of a blunder. Okay, let's take with a king. Forgot that b2 hangs now. After it takes on b2, we'll play rook d1, get the file, and do something. See how fast we can checkmate. Rook d7. So I might pick up the b7 pawn just to be safe. Don't want these pawns to start advancing too far. And then I'll move up my king and try to checkmate. Let's follow the plan. Now I think knight f6 is mate, king f8 and king e6 followed by rook f7 mate. Yeah. So if king h8, rook h7 is mate, and if king f8, then this is checkmate. Rook e6, rook f7 next. Oh yes, rook a6. Keep blundering. Fortunately, I didn't see it. Okay, so yeah, we gained more than 100 points, which is good. Hopefully the next game will be a bit better. Like this time, and maybe play a Sicilian. Sicilians are always fun. Everyone likes a Sicilian. But no one likes this. Let me tell you a secret. Everyone that plays the Sicilian hates when their opponent plays bishop e5 check. Bishop d7, knight d7. Let's play bishop d7. I think this is the most solid option. And he doesn't play d4, so knight c6 looks normal. Where should we put the f8 bishop, on g7 or e7? I don't know. Looks better on g7, especially now that he plays knight c3 and he cannot play c3, blocking the diagonal. Now we'll definitely put it on g7. And then the knight gonna go to f6 or e7. And once again, I don't know which one is best. Okay, so 94 now is a possibility. Threatening to take on f3. cannot take with a knight because I win a piece. Knight e4, you might just want to go long castles. I don't think that's so great. If I go knight f6, he goes bishop h6. So knight e4, long castles. We can take on f3. He gets a damaged structure, but he doesn't really mind because I'll try to attack. But he doesn't have much of an attack, I think. I can even castle long as well if I'm scared. Let's play knight e4. Well, after long castle, I can also go b5 or just go simple move like e6. If he goes bishop takes d4, I think I take with a pawn. Then knight e2, e5. So this as expected. So b5 is possible. Also knight takes f3 and then b5. Then he might go d4. If b5 immediately, might go like knight e2. Maybe I should also start thinking about developing this knight. So knight f6, bishop h6. That's a bit of an annoying move, bishop h6. I can maybe castle, but I'd like to have something more. Oh, also knight f6, he can take on d4. So that's not good. You can also castle long. In that case, I should probably take first on f3 and then castle long. But I like to attack his king, and it's gonna be a bit harder if I castle long. Also moves like f5 trying to break the structure are interesting. Like attacking the center immediately. But yeah, what does it do? Maybe they are not that interesting. Like if he takes it's good, but if he doesn't take, it makes no sense. Okay, so let's say b5 he goes knight e2. Do I have any attack on the queen side? In order to get that, I'm gonna need to develop. So once again, I think I need to develop the pieces. But once I develop the knight, he's gonna go bishop h6. So I'm kind of tempted to just castle long, which is a shame. Maybe I can even castle long without taking on f3 because I don't want him to get d4 anytime soon. Let's castle long. Maybe I could have played knight f, oh, but knight f6, it takes on d4, yeah. Maybe I could have played knight f3 first, and then knight f6, and then if he goes bishop h6, I take and castle long because his queen is a bit out of play. Yeah, probably I'm just playing really, really bad now. But I think our position is still okay. Yeah, 92. Now I think I want to take on f3. I want to ruin his structure. Then we might go queen b5 just to target b2. Where to develop this knight? f6 or e7. Both of them are okay. Queen a4 just goes king b1. I didn't get much. He's gonna go d4, I think. But then but now I'm no longer scared of taking it. Let's maybe go king b8. Just preparing so that when he plays d4 and we take, the king is already a bit more safe. I wanted to weaken the pawns, but I don't really have any way of attacking them right now. So we're gonna have to do it slowly. I still don't know where this knight belongs. Probably on c6, where it can go to d4 and d5. So let's try 6. Now after d4, oh, but yeah, I forgot that now you can play d4, and after I take, d6 is a bit weak. This, I think, h5 is a good move. Don't really see the point of h4. Because now the pawn might get a bit weak on h4. So how should we react to d4? Maybe taking. The pawn is still defended. Maybe just take it in 97 if he takes with a knight. Otherwise the plan is 97, knight c6. You should probably at some point play c3. Maybe c3 and d4. Yeah, d4. I think it makes sense, but I also think it's okay to take. Let's say take, knight takes, 97. Can also take with a bishop, and after bishop takes, queen takes. That attacks h8. I play 97, 97. Yeah, that's also okay. So now I think whether it takes with a knight or queen, we can go knight e7. And now if he goes knight b5, d5 is probably a good move. Oh, knight b5, I can just take it. Maybe it's sleepy today. I haven't played a lot of tournaments. I think that also makes a difference. So now what can we do? d5. d5 is possible. Also knight c6. Takes, queen takes. d5. Let's play d5. So now we are threatening to take on e4, and after pawn takes e5. So that's why I decided for d5. I like to have threats. Also, the positional threat is e5 and d4, I think. Unless he gets a quick c3, that should be very good for black. Now we can go maybe knight c6, or maybe just removing the queen first. So queen c7. Queen c7 looks very decent. And if knight c5, just king a8. Yeah, I like the queen here because it controls e5, f4. I might play queen f4 at some point. If he moves the rook, I might get even queen h2. And the next move is probably knight c6, so that I can move the queen. Also, oh, rook d7. Also rook d6. Yeah, this I'm... What options do we have? Knight c6. The queen, I don't know where the queen goes. c3 maybe. So also rook d6 is possible. Prepares moves like rook b6 and also prepares to double. Let's play that. Now there is a possible fork on b5. I can... I'm not plundering anything. But if knight d4, I can simply play either rook b6, knight c6. So let's double. Right now I cannot take on e4, but after knight c6 I might be able to. Now I would like to... Actually, I'd like not to take on e4 because then he gets to undouble his pawns. But if it wins something, it's worth it, right? Because he does have a lot of weaknesses. Okay, now if I take on e4, I guess his plan is to take on d6. But then I have knight e5 at the end. So maybe taking on e4 is good. Takes on e4, takes, rook takes d6, and then knight d5. He can play pawn takes e4, queen takes d6, and pawn takes d5. Then I have a queen for knight and rook. Otherwise I don't see how he defends the rook, so I think that's a good move. If he plays queen takes e4, then obviously the structure is terrible. And I don't see any other options. Yeah, he goes for queen e4. That's not very good. And I see we have people in the chat. Thank you. I feel important now. I feel like my life has meaning again. Okay, so now we're obviously we obviously have a very good position. I would say that it's technically winning, but I don't know what is the best way of doing it. Should he trade the rooks? Should we not trade the rooks? I think the knight on f5 looks very good because it attacks h4, it controls d4. So first of all, let's put the knight here. You need to be careful that it doesn't get like, for example, you can take twice on d6 and then go knight a5, but threatening mate. Then of course we have queen d1 mate ourselves, but we should be a bit careful about our king. Starts to bring the king, it makes sense. Preparing for the endgame. Now what if I take twice and go like queen h2, trying to take on h4? That doesn't look very good actually. But if he doesn't have any counterplay, why not? So rook takes, will take again. If king takes, maybe I will go queen h2 because then I threaten to take on f2 with check. And even now, like queen h2 threatens queen g1 or queen h1, winning at least a piece. So maybe that's just a good move. Let's say queen h2 if he goes b3, for example. Then when I can take on f2 or on h4. He has queen e5 check. And that's annoying. So our weak king might be a problem. Also, queen h2, b3, knight h4, he has f4 and starts to check me. This weak king might be a bigger problem than I thought. So what if we go a6? Then we might want to play queen h2 because now we have a flight square. I'd also like to trade queens. But if queen c6, just queen e5. Because if you trade queens, we take on h4 and it's game over. I don't see how to do it. Otherwise, we'll play knight c4, knight e5, and I start to wonder how big the advantage is. So let's say we go a6, knight c4, queen h2, then let's go a6. We don't have a lot of time now. Okay, now I think queen h2. In c3, I don't think it's best because this king is still slightly weakened. The king won't be comfortable on c2 because then the knight needs to protect it. And if I take on f2, knight e3 is a check. And knight check. So you can try to protect f2, like with a move like queen e, oh, queen e3 is not possible. With queen e2, but then maybe taking on h4, but still queen e5 check. So after queen e2, maybe knight takes h4. When there is no longer f4. I think this is basically technically winning, but very easy for a player like me to mess it up. Yeah, queen e3 is not a good move. So yay, one more game. And we keep getting more and more ratings, so hopefully, I think I played d4 the last game, so let's play e4 now. Sicilian. Well, should I go bishop e5 just to annoy him? Like the other guy annoyed me. Now let's go bishop e5. And take it. Now usually black plays queen takes. After knight takes, I'll go d4 and take with the queen because the knight can no longer go to c6. That's one of the big ideas. Okay, and now what should we do? Should we play with c4 or without c4? That's the main question. I think with c4 it makes sense. Just trying to grind in a Maroczy structure. Now it's c3, then castles, and now we stop to think. So d6 is a bit weak, so you immediately think about b3 and bishop a3. But when we do that, you can just play knight c5. So maybe just developing. Maybe b3 and bishop b2. Let's go b3, it's a useful move. Then we can decide if we want to put the bishop on a3 or on b2. Both of them are logical options. e5. Where should I put the queen? Usually a good place is e3, but that blocks the bishop. And I might want to go bishop g5. But maybe I can put the bishop on a3 instead. Although it will go knight c5. Queen d3 is also logical. Then if he goes knight c5, I can go queen e2 and try to play bishop g5. Let's go queen d3. The reason why I'm not sure if I want to go bishop g5 is because after trading, he can take with a knight. But now after he has gone knight c5, I'm very tempted to go bishop g5 and just get the control over d5. Let's do it. He goes queen g4 for some reason. I'll go h3 first, I think. It makes Luft, it wins tempo. Queen h5, so now maybe takes on f6 and knight d5. I don't need to take on f6 just yet. Can play rook a d1 first, I think. Rook a d1 or rook f d1? That's always the question. I might want to play rook f d1 because then I'll want to play on the queen side. But it's also possible to play rook a d1 at some point. I don't know. Usually it needs to be guessed which rook is best, yeah, and this makes me happy that I didn't take on f6 because you waste time playing h6. Yeah, he avoids losing d6, but he does not avoid losing the game, that's for sure. Knight d5, rook e8. His queen is really strangely placed. Let's go knight d5. I think he needs to go bishop d8 because if some rook to e8, I take on e7 and on d6. And I do trade my wonderful knight for his bishop, but I get a pawn, and the pawn is a pawn. Now he probably wants to go knight e6 to f4, but as long as I have my knight on d5, that's not a problem. What to do about that queen on h5? It's kind of annoying me now. Maybe queen e3, then knight h2 to g4. Yeah, it's a bit annoying. Like, I know that this position is great, but then I don't know what to do. Also interesting is g3, because if he takes on h3, I go knight h4, which was my plan anyway, and then queen h5. And can I do something about his queen on h3? Don't know. Let's try it. Looks interesting. Maybe not that good, but it. I mean, it still needs to be great for white. I mean, it's not good. Maybe it's not the best way, but I find it very hard to believe that this is not a good position. Okay. Now I'd like to go 93 to f5, but right now he can take the pawn on e4. So maybe I can go b4, 96, 93, and he goes, and then if he goes knight d4, I can just take, I can probably take on d4 and play knight f5. Let's try to do that. Oh, but there's a problem. Now we can go 96, and if 93 can go knight f4, because my knight's hanging on h4. Once again, I'm probably blundering everything. So after 96, what should I do? If not 93. 93, knight f4, I still have queen f3. Rook g8, so he wants to take on h4. Now I can go queen h5 maybe. Knight takes e4, queen f7, rook g7. Knight f5. I'm playing really poorly. Queen h5, knight e4, even rook g3. Rook g3 probably is bad. Knight e4. Queen h5, knight e4. And I don't know what to do. Knight f5, guessing he's gonna go 96. And you might get knight f4. I think I'll have to trade the queens at some point. bc5, queen h4. Yeah, maybe I can just go bc5 and queen h4. bc5, queen h4, and maybe cd6. Maybe that's the simplest way. So bc5, queen h4, cd6. What can it do? Maybe f5. With f5 I can take it. Even though I played very bad, I'm this must still be completely winning. Might have been harder if I had played 96 instead of g8. Now I'm gonna play queen f3 next. Planning to go to f5, king g2 if he lets me, and rook h1. equal material, and well, it is clear who has the better pieces. Queen g5. Maybe he wants to go h5. Should I stop it with king g2? King g2, h5, rook h1, h4, and he's kind of stuck there. Maybe I can go rook h3, rook g6, rook h1. He doesn't, yeah, he doesn't have the time. Let's play king g2, rook h1, and now if he goes h4, I think rook h3 is a good move then. Should try something with h5 somehow. And now we can play rook h5, queen takes, rook h1, but it's two queens for. That's two rooks for the queen. Well, it still looks good for me. I don't think it's. We need to do that. Maybe knight e3 to f5 is better. Then he's just gonna put his king on g6. Queen f3 looks good, but I don't know what it does. On the other hand, what is he doing? Maybe just rook h3 and rook h1 is a nice way of doing it. So rook h3, king g6, rook h1, and rook h8. He's still more or less holding there. Should we start looking at the queen side? Like c5, for example. c5 and then rook b1. That's a bit annoying for him. Okay, but now I'm gonna go rook h3. Or even knight e3. Because then knight f5 attacks h4 as well. So maybe I could have gone rook h4. You could play still king g7. I think I'm trapping his queen with rook h5, but I also think that rook h1 is basically mate. So checkmate beats winning the queen. Also rook h5, yet queen g4. Oh yes, king f8. So it's not mate. So what should we do after king f8? Rook h8, rook g8, rook h5, queen g4. Okay, just resigned. Also reasonable. Okay, I think I'm gonna play one more game. This will probably be the last one of this stream. d4, let's play d5. Solid. c4, c6. Also solid. g3. Now should you go for those sharp lines of taking on c4, which I know nothing about, or try to play a bit more solid? Let's try bishop f5, maybe. I don't think this is a good move, but I don't know why, so I'm gonna play it. I don't know if there was some queen b3 or something, like I was thinking queen b3, queen b6, but there is probably something good for white there. I'm not sure what. I'm expecting bishop g2, and after bishop g3, I like to play h6 to keep my light squared bishop. Of course, it's possible that white does something, goes for some quick attack then, and I'm caught behind in development, but we can try. Also possible after bishop g2 is of course the simple bishop e7, knight h4, and something like bishop g4. He's thinking for a long time now. You can also play knight h4 here. Probably I will go then bishop e4. If he takes, I take with a pawn. And then he has to reroute his knight through g2, which is a bit weird. And if he goes f3, yeah, but he can just go f3, bishop g6, and try to get at some point e4. Probably not right away. I don't think he's well developed enough to do it. So yeah, knight h4 looks a very reasonable move. Knight h4, bishop e4, f3, bishop g6, then just bishop g2. Yeah, this I don't think is that great. Releasing the tension is usually in black's favor. One of the main problems now is that if he ever gets to play e4, I'll take on e4 and he will get an isolated pawn on d4. While if there was still pawns on c4 and d6, then he would not get the isolated pawn. After castles, maybe I should still play h6. Just trying to get my bishop, because now you can play knight h4. Bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, g4. Then maybe I have some... Knight ft7 doesn't work because he has knight f5. So probably I have to play bishop g6 and allow the trade. That's also not so bad. But I like to keep it if possible. As I grew older, I started to appreciate the bishops, unfortunately. I think sometimes I overvalue them a bit. It's taking a really long time, like wondering if he's still there. Okay, apparently he is there. Now h6, do we have time for h6? I think we do. So this stops bishop g5, which he might want to play because his bishop is a bit bad, the c1 bishop, mainly because of the d4 pawn. And it also prepares a retreat square on h7 for the bishop. And then I'll castle. This is already, I think this is already a bit more pleasant to play as black. So one of the things he might want to do is play bishop f4. Because yeah, I can take on f4, but then it takes with the g-pawn, gets control over the e-file, and it's not really easy for me to attack his king. Given that I have not yet castled, that might be a bit of a problem. So let's say bishop f4, I go takes, g takes, queen d6, e3, knight d7, knight b d7, and then I can maybe try to castle queenside and play g5 to get an attack. So you should probably wait until I cast short to do that. Of course, you can also then try to attack my king on the queen side, but it feels like I should be faster. But then what does he play here? Queen b3. This almost always go queen b6. Queen c7 is also possible, but he might at some point put the rook on c1 and threaten knight b5. I still can't remove. Did I do that correctly? I think it was on live chess. I have removes enabled. Maybe I need to update the window or something. I'm trying to think of a plan for white, and it's not easy to find. Like his position is relatively solid, so shouldn't be much worse. But there's not a lot you can do. You can try to go for e4, as he's clearly doing, but it shouldn't be enough. Should I castle? I think I should castle. If he's going for e4, I don't want my king in the center. Now we can go e4, takes, knight takes, knight takes, knight takes. And then he's attacking the bishop. I might reroute it to f6. I also might get at some point d5 in. I'd like prevent him from doing that, but I'm not sure I can. So let's say e4 here. Takes, knight takes, knight takes, knight takes. And then we go bishop e7. Then if d5, I can still take on b3 and take on d5. So I think that's good. And if the knight moves, no, but where to? Knight c3, for example, trying to go d5. Well, it doesn't feel that good. Not sure what I'm gonna play then, but definitely not worse, and I'll probably have some way of being better then. You'd also like to go f3, but the problem is that I take on d4 with check, which currently I shouldn't do because it takes on d7. Yeah, and if he goes takes, a takes f3, well then I need to do something about the threat of e4, e5, but after that I should have a good position. The rook developed on the a file, solid pawn structure. He's taking a long time for his moves. Even more than me, which is not easy. So in this game I'm playing very, very quick. move like knight a4, I think I can just take, pawn takes, knight bd7. Should also be slightly better for black. Those are the moves I want to play. Knight bd7, rook fe8 to get to the... Here I think I should take it. And if pawn takes, knight bd7. If knight takes, well, that's a bit interesting. He's trying to get to c5. Maybe I should go knight e4, knight e4 f3. Maybe knight bd7, and after knight c5 trade once and play rook b8. I can also play b6, though that's a bit ugly because of the 6-6 pawn. I can also take twice, but then not only do I give up my bishop pair, I don't think I get anything special in return. So after knight c5, I can also play rook b8 immediately. What if I take twice on c5 and play b6? It might be interesting. Oh, then it just goes bishop e3. So my point was that, of course, if b4, I would go a5, which is probably very annoying for him, but it just goes bishop e3. Bishop e3, knight g4. So it's still interesting. Knight g4, bishop d4, and I have nothing. Okay, so this knight to c5. Probably wants to play b4 at some point, trying to get a minority attack. I would have liked to have my rook on e8 because then I could play knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook e7. I would keep the harmony in my position, but if it's not possible, that's also fine. I think just knight c5 and rook b8. Yeah, but he will go before b5. That's a bit annoying. I was here making that speech that my position is more comfortable to play, but right now I think it's easier to play for white, just try to do some minority attack. Should be okay, don't think I should be worse, but it's a bit annoying to face. What about b5? So that looks very ugly, but if he removes the knight, then I'll take a pawn on c5, and if he takes on d7, I take with the knight. He needs to go back to c3. Do I have something there? If b4, it just goes back to a4, so it doesn't look very good, b5. Trying to search for any idea that if I play knight takes e5, it probably even takes with a pawn. Trying to go b4 next, although then I go bishop e5 and it's should be good for me. So knight c5, knight c5, rook a b8, b4. That's a bit annoying. What else can I do? Can also try to do something a bit unusual, but it might work, which is knight c5, bishop c5, dc5, and b5. And the plan is to follow it up with b4 and try to leave this pawn a bit weak. It's probably not that good, but I don't know what else to do. Let's take one time. So you can also take with a pawn. Then I think just bishop e5 or even bishop c7. If he takes with a knight, then I'm looking at bishop c5. So once again, if I play b6, I think bishop e3 is the move. Yeah, knight takes c5. Bishop takes b6, bishop e3, knight g4, bishop d4. I don't have anything. Maybe I can start with bishop takes, pawn takes, and then rook f8. Because then if he goes e3, and if he goes bishop e3, I can go knight g4 and I'm attacking e2. He can then maybe go, so let's say takes on c5, rook e8, rook e1. What happens if I now play b6? Bishop e3 anyway. Yeah, but what's the alternative? I can still go rook b8 and he cannot go b4 because of b6. And then if he wants to protect the pawn, he needs to go knight a6, which is very, very weird. He might make a move like bishop d2 then. Or even bishop f4. Looks better, bishop f4. Okay, let's do this. It's probably just bad. I don't think we'll get in trouble. So here, I was thinking you can play either bishop f3 or rook e1. And even e3 is probably fine because after b6 he can take, and yes, I have a good structure, but my pawns are also a bit weak. So let's say he goes rook e1. Should I go b6 or b5? I think I need to go b5 then. Because b6, bishop b3, I'm not getting anywhere. I think b5 might be interesting then. And trying to leave this pawn a bit weak. And then we can start to try to do something with b5, a5 and advancing these pawns. We have control of the e file. Yeah, and this, so the plan was b6. And now we should probably take it. Still after bishop d2 and bishop c3, or even b3 and bishop b2. I probably prefer bishop d2 to c3 because after b3 I think the a2 pawn is a bit, yeah, a bit weaker. Now we can try maybe to trade light square bishops. So if, because that would be that would probably be good for us. Right, if we trade it no longer as a bishop pair, and we get the e4 square for the knight. The problem with knight e4 is that can take it, and even in the opposite colored bishop endgame we are better. It's probably very drawish. So I prefer to keep an imbalance with the knight versus bishop. Now if he goes f3, we'll go with the bishop back and d3 is weak. And it looks like he's almost losing on time. Yeah, he goes f3. I think bishop f5 is okay. So now the bishop can come back to d7 if needed to protect pawns. So I can go either c5 or bishop d7. Bishop d7, I give up control over e4. c5, I start to open up the diagonal a bit too much. I think I'll do this. Yeah, I really don't want to open the diagonal. Now probably king f2, yeah, and bishop c3. So what to do now? Doubling on the a file, we'll just play e3. Maybe rook e6, rerouting the knight to d6. But rook e6, maybe even rook e7. Just not to blunder any bishop h3 at some point. Now if bishop c3, I think I'll go knight e8. Can then go e4, but I just take it. And it's still maybe slightly better for black. Okay, a4. Is he going a5? Probably. Probably. I don't think I have much now. Maybe I'm even worse. I don't know. So 96 a5. Maybe then I can take and try to play knight c4, which attacks a lot of pawns. b2, a5. Let's do it. So if a5, I think I can take. Let's say bishop takes, I go knight c4, attack the bishop on e5 and the pawns on b2 and e3. I think you should be able to get out of it somehow, like bishop e4, for example. Then I cannot take on e3 because there is rook takes c4. I'm still doing it like on autopilot, but maybe this is not good. Okay, if bishop b4, maybe there is knight b2. But probably not because of rook b1 and okay, it doesn't play it. Now I can take with the rook because there is no rook takes c4. So I think that was really a bad move. I can go bishop c3. Okay, that gives up another pawn. So maybe it's a good thing that I have such a low rating because if I was playing this bad against good opposition, I'd probably be losing a lot of games. Okay, he resigns here. I don't think I'm gonna play any more game. Yeah, the World Cup starts in 20 minutes, so that's something I'll want to keep an eye on. Um, Thank you for watching, and I'm leaving now. Bye.